solitary mother, battered and abandoned with her infant, found hope when a wealthy man removed his jacket and extended an invitation, saying, "Come with me." The sun hung high over the American West, relentless in its heat, a blistering 104 degrees that rendered the air sharp and stifling. The asphalt glistened as if it were a flowing stream, yet there was no water to be found, no respite, only the oppressive heat ascending from the pavement like a harsh sentence. Clara Bennett knelt on the road as if in penance. Clara Bennett crouched by the roadside, her cotton dress tattered, her knees stained with blood, her skin sunburned and flaking, yet none of it held any significance. Neither the blood, nor the pain, nor the shame. What held significance was the delicate, slight burden cradled in her embrace. "Ellie," she whispered, her voice hoarse, frayed by thirst and sorrow. "Darling, I implore you, awaken my love. Do not frighten Mama in this manner. I cannot bear the thought of losing you as well." The small girl, just 5 years of age, rested weakly against her chest, her cheeks a rosy hue, her lips parched and fissured, her delicate fingers gently grasping the hem of Clara's dress. She remained utterly still for the past hour. Vehicles whizzed by, each one indifferent, each one ignoring their presence. The world continued its relentless march, while Clara stood still, a mother clinging to the remnants of her life, cradling a child whose light was dimming in her embrace. She shut her eyes, attempting to block out the past, yet the memories pierced her mind like sharp needles. Just hours earlier, she had found herself at the gates of the Whitmore estate, the place she once claimed as her own. Beatrice Whitmore stood clad in white linen, her hands neatly folded, her gaze as icy as the winter's chill. "You are no longer family," she declared with a chilling detachment. "You have taken my son's life." Charles was inebriated, Clara had implored. His anger simmered, a decision he regretted as Beatrice's voice cut sharply through the air. "His demise rests upon your shoulders, you who were his wife, his tormentor." Next to her, Percy Langston, the family's trusted advisor, gestured towards the gate. "Depart at once, or we shall be compelled to summon the authorities." Clara held Ellie tightly, her body trembling with fever and tears streaming down her face, pleading, "Please, just let me call a doctor. She needs help." Yet they forcefully closed the gate, and she caught the sharp sound of metal as it secured itself with a definitive click. She turned away, cradling her daughter as they stumbled down the lengthy driveway, bare feet meeting the scorching ground. As Ellie descended, she stumbled, her head striking the unforgiving concrete, her arm twisting at an unnatural angle. Clara's voice had pierced the silence, yet no one answered her call. Eventually, she reached out to her mother in Montana, clinging to a final glimmer of hope. "Mom, I really need a place to stay for a few days, just until I can sort things out." Her mother's response was icy, resolute. "We cautioned you against marrying into that family, yet you chose Charles. Embrace whatever unfolds next." Clara's voice trembled. "However, Ellie is unwell. I have nothing more to say," her father had declared, and then there was silence. They ended the call. Clara lingered by the roadside, reminiscent of forgotten debris, holding tightly to a 5-year-old girl whose arm was swollen, skin ablaze, and breath faltering. The tattered canvas bag, rendered useless, rested at her feet. A nearly empty bottle of water, its warmth devoid of comfort, sat between them and the vast expanse of nothingness. Clara lowered her head, her lips quivering as they brushed against her daughter's forehead. "Oh, if fate must choose, let it be me who bears the burden, not her. Take me in her stead, I implore you." The air shimmered, the heat bearing down like an unseen force. Not a soul paused, not even to inquire, until at last, someone did. The engine's hum fades, giving way to the sharp crunch of tires on gravel. Clara kept her gaze fixed downward, devoid of any hope that might have inspired her to rise again. The door of the truck groaned as it swung open, the sound of boots crunching on the gravel followed closely behind. A shadow loomed over her, and Ellie, followed by an unsettling stillness. At last a voice emerges, soft yet unwavering, unassuming yet genuine. "The young girl is feverish, and I have cold water, a truck equipped with air conditioning, and a doctor who is in my debt." Clara remained still, paralyzed by the weight of her past wounds, unable to respond to the warmth of kindness. Her arms instinctively tightened around Ellie. "I won't touch either of you," the man said again, his voice softer now. "I'll just leave this here." She glanced upward, taking in the figure of a tall man in his early 40s. He wore faded jeans and a gray shirt, his worn boots hinting at a life well lived. His skin bore the marks of time, and though his eyes lacked sharpness, they conveyed a gentle kindness in their quiet demeanor. He set a sealed bottle of cold water softly on the ground a few feet away and stepped back, offering no threats, no questions, no judgments, only space, only presence. Clara blinked fiercely, casting her gaze downward at Ellie, whose lips had grown even more pallid, her breath quick and shallow. With trembling hands, she extended her reach and seized the bottle, unscrewing the cap with a deliberate motion. A few drops cascaded onto her fingers, which she then gently rubbed against Ellie's lips. The man remained still. Clara gazed up at him, and he remained silent. She nodded, not out of trust, nor from a belief that the nightmare had come to an end, but because, at long last, someone had chosen not to turn away. One had remained. He swung open the back door of the truck, and Clara, cradling Ellie, rose gradually on unsteady legs, moving toward him, toward the cool shade, toward the refreshing water, toward the first glimpse of humanity she had encountered in what felt like an eternity. It wasn't safety just yet, but she was no longer alone. Not this time. The truck rolled along the endless highway, its engine a steady hum against the backdrop of swirling dust and oppressive heat outside, while an enveloping silence reigned within. Clara nestled in the back seat, her arms securely enveloping Ellie, her 5-year-old daughter, whose head lay softly against her chest, a picture of serene vulnerability. Heat surged through the child's delicate garment, reminiscent of a blazing furnace. Occasionally, Clara would bend low to murmur her name, assess her breathing, and gently press her lips against her forehead. Silently, the man occupied the driver's seat. He repositioned the rearview mirror, not to monitor the road ahead, but to keep an eye on the child. He cast a fleeting look at her chest, checking that it continued to rise and fall. Silence enveloped the space between him and Clara. His hands held the wheel with a tranquil firmness, yet his gaze frequently flicked back to the mirror. Clara remained poised, her senses heightened. Though she remained unaware of his identity, an instinctive feeling within her assured her that he posed no danger. Not this evening. Not while Ellie's life was fading from her grasp, and the world around her remained oblivious. After a quarter of an hour, the man came to a stop. Clara's heart leaped with a sudden thrill. He remained silent. "I just stepped outside, made my way to the back, fetched a cooler, and came back." From a side pocket, he retrieved a soft towel, drenched it in cold water, and delicately placed it on Ellie's feverish forehead. Observing Clara shivering, her skin damp and chilled by the truck's air conditioning. He slipped off his denim jacket and, maintaining a respectful distance, gently laid it over her shoulders from behind. Clara recoiled slightly, yet as she raised her eyes, she found him already settled once more, hands at rest, his gaze unwaveringly directed forward. In the mirror, their gazes intertwined briefly, conveying a silent message. "Keep it." The evening air is turning brisk. As they arrived at his ranch, darkness had enveloped the landscape. The truck glided through a wooden gate, coming to a halt before a brick farmhouse adorned with white shutters, its porch enveloped in serene shadows. He emerged into the night, unlatched the door, illuminated a handful of lights, and then glanced back. The guest room awaits on the left. Warm water flows in the kitchen, and the medicine resides in the top drawer. He refrained from inquiring about her name, nor did he offer the invitation to make herself comfortable. He quietly opened the door, took a few steps forward, and abandoned her in that moment. The essence of hospitality was notably absent. It exuded a sense of tranquil readiness, as though he had anticipated the arrival of another, perhaps not her specifically, but someone nonetheless, who would require this. Within the confines of the room, Clara gently placed Ellie upon the bed. The girl's breathing had calmed, yet she remained warm, her skin glistening with the remnants of fever. Clara surveyed her surroundings, finding neither towels nor a basin. With panic gnawing at her, she hurried into the hallway. Upon her return, she stood still, caught in a moment of disbelief. At the foot of the bed rested a basin brimming with warm water, steam curling softly into the air. Beside it, towels, both damp and dry, were neatly folded. A note, penned in uncomplicated script, rests atop. Test the water first. It's warm. Gently glide the soft cloth across her skin. He had vanished. Clara sank to her knees, gently tending to Ellie's face, arms, and legs with careful strokes. The girl let out a soft whimper, yet remained in her slumber. Clara extended her hand for another towel, and beneath its folds, she discovered a small wooden hairbrush, its surface polished by time. Next to it, an additional note. This was once a favorite of my daughter's. I trust it will provide your little girl with a sense of security. Clara's breath hitched. She remained dry-eyed when they cast her aside. Not when her own parents had chosen to look the other way. Not when she bore her feverish child through sun and gravel. Yet now, cradling this brush, this note, this gentle gesture from a man who had not posed a single inquiry, she shattered. Silent tears spilled forth. With the brush held close to her heart, she delicately glided it through the knots of Ellie's unruly hair. The young girl stirred, her voice a soft whisper. Mama, this brush has a lovely scent. Clara released a fractured laugh, and then the sobs surged with greater intensity. In the dimly lit hallway, Silas rested against the wall, his eyes gently shut. He could hear her weeping, yet he remained still, silent, and made no attempt to knock. It had been ages since the suffering of another had evoked any response within him. Yet this evening, a change occurred, not out of pity, nor from a sense of duty, but rather something softer, more inherently human. He allowed it to swell within him as the house, once quiet and motionless, began to exhale once more, infused with both sorrow and optimism. The morning light filtered softly through the curtains of the guest room, casting a warm, golden hue. Clara awoke, a dull ache in her back from the hard floor where she had spent the night, nestled beside the bed. The initial sound that reached her ears was the steady, rhythmic, and undeniably real breathing of Ellie. As she opened her eyes, she beheld her daughter, still lost in slumber. The color had returned to her cheeks, her lips were no longer parched, and her small hand lay peacefully relaxed upon the sheets. The fever had finally subsided during the night hours. Clara rose gradually, the stillness of the house strange yet oddly soothing. It was a silence that resonated like the vastness of space, not merely a void. On the nightstand, a tray lay in anticipation, adorned with 2 slices of toast, a small bowl of jam, a hard-boiled egg, and beside it, a glass of milk for Ellie, and a note for Clara. The kitchen is open. I shall be in the garden. She stared at it for a moment, then surveyed the room. Yet there was still no trace of the man who had rescued them. With gentle care, she assisted Ellie in sitting up and offered her food in a measured, deliberate manner. The young girl took delicate bites of the toast, sipped her milk, and then nestled against her mother's shoulder, emitting a soft, sleepy hum. As Clara stepped into the hallway, cradling Ellie in her arms, her gaze fell upon a folded piece of paper resting on the floor just outside the room. A paper airplane, pristine and meticulously crafted. Inscribed upon one wing in meticulous block letters were the words, "For Ellie." Ellie beamed at the sight before her. Did you create this, Mama? No, Clara replied gently. Yet someone did, just for you. The morning unfolded in the room, with Ellie immersed in her quiet coloring, while Clara busied herself with tidying up as best as she could. At the stroke of noon, with the sun reaching its zenith, Clara ventured outdoors. She discovered Silas hunched over in the garden, soil smudged on his jeans, a broad-brimmed hat shading his face. He lifted his gaze as she drew near, yet remained seated. Mints are dying, he remarked, his hand sweeping toward a cluster of feeble, half-withered leaves. The area has become a tangle of weeds, yet the roots remain strong beneath the surface. Clara sank to her knees beside him. I used to garden, she murmured, her fingers dancing through the earth. Before all else, she plucked a weed, followed by another. In quietude, they toiled, their hands dancing in harmony, breath synchronizing effortlessly. The mint started to re-emerge under their touch, vibrant, fresh and aromatic. As they stood there, dusting the earth from their hands, Silas turned to her, meeting her gaze for the first time since the previous night. His voice carried a softness, tinged with uncertainty. Apologies escaped his lips, he murmured. Clara shifted her stance, a flicker of confusion crossing her features. What is the purpose? He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. Not because of my actions, but due to the burdens you've borne, in solitude. That was all there was to it, nothing more. Neither pity nor a vow to mend anything, merely recognition. Clara blinked, the sun piercing her eyes with its sharp brilliance. Perhaps it was something entirely different. Never before had such words been spoken to her, not even by those she called family. I never realized it was permissible to feel angry, she confessed, or tired, or anything at all. I believe that perseverance was the only path forward. Silas gave a slight nod, brushing the dust from his hands onto his trousers. At times, the act of merely enduring transforms into a routine. They strolled back toward the house, side by side. As the afternoon wore on, Clara found herself seated on the porch, the gentle sound of Ellie's soft breathing filling the air as the little one drifted into another peaceful slumber. Silas presented her with a glass of water, settled beside her, and remained silent. Silence was sufficient. Within the confines of the home, mint leaves gently infused themselves in the warmth of hot water. A tiny airplane lay quietly next to a vibrant array of crayons, and upon the earth, a hint of green had started to emerge once more. After what felt like an eternity, Clara experienced a profound sense of calm wash over her. Neither safety nor trust, not just yet, but rather the expanse of space, room to exhale, room to remain, even if only for a fleeting moment. The rain drummed softly on the wooden roof of the porch, creating a steady rhythm that permeated the silence without being intrusive. The late afternoon sky had transformed into a soft gray, while the aroma of damp earth wafted in with the gentle breeze. Within the cozy confines, young Ellie lay nestled beneath a colorful patchwork blanket, her petite form finally at peace. Clara perched on the porch steps, her hands gently embracing a steaming mug of tea. She refrained from drinking it, instead cradling it gently, allowing the warmth to permeate her skin. Her gaze drifted, unfocused, not observing the rain, but lost in a memory from long ago. Silas reclined a short distance away in a weathered rocking chair. He set a kettle upon the modest side table, yet refrained from pouring himself a single drop. He remained silent, refraining from inquiries or disturbances. He lingered, not in search of answers, but simply to remain close. The stillness that enveloped them was not filled with discomfort. Rather, it was a testament to their sincerity. At last, Clara found her voice. "Charles used to be charming," she murmured, her voice barely rising above a whisper. "A man who elicited smiles from strangers in grocery stores. He possessed a sense of humor and kindness. At times, yet he fell short in goodness." Silas remained silent. His gaze lingered on the threshold of the porch, where the rain met the steps below. Clara's fingers curled more firmly around the mug. "On the morning following our wedding, he transformed. He seized control of my bank account and my phone. He claimed it was for the sake of convenience." She offered a faint, acrid smile. "Then it was my garments, my companions, my moments." She hesitated. If I expressed my reluctance to attend a dinner party due to Ellie's fever, he would raise his voice in frustration. Once, he drove his fist into the wall right beside my face and declared, "You don't get to say no, understand?" The tea sat forgotten, its warmth slipping away unnoticed by her. He instilled in me a sense of worthlessness in his absence, and for a time, I succumbed to that belief. The rain intensified, a relentless percussion against the roof overhead. Neither stirred. Clara's voice sank to a hushed whisper. On the fateful night of his demise a year ago, he found himself inebriated. He called me from his car. His voice raised in frustration because I failed to attend a charity event. I remained at home with Ellie. She burned with fever, tears streaming down her cheeks. He continued to raise his voice incessantly. I ended the call, and she took a deep breath. After an hour had passed, the wail of sirens reached my ears. At first, I had no idea it was him, until Beatrice came pounding on the door. Clara gently shook her head, a slow and deliberate motion. She remained silent, neither shedding tears nor posing questions. She merely gazed at me and uttered, "You're the curse that took my son away. You were never a part of this family." Her hands quivered ever so slightly as she placed the mug beside her. From that day forward, she turned my existence into a relentless torment. Subtle barbs, glances that pierce more profoundly than speech. One morning, she confided in me that I should refrain from touching the photo frames, claiming that my hands carried an aura of misfortune. Clara let out a single subdued chuckle. After nearly a year, she finally uttered the words, "Get out." And thus, it came to an end. I found myself without a single place to turn. Her voice faltered ever so slightly. My own mother said to me, "You made the wrong choice. Now bear the consequences." My father ended the call. She pressed her palms against her jeans, as if attempting to wipe away the heaviness of those words from her very being. I found myself at a crossroads, uncertain of the path ahead. I barely managed to fill a bag. I swiftly gathered Ellie in my arms and took off. A moment of stillness. Then, with a gentle motion, Silas glided a folded napkin across the porch floor. Silence speaks volumes. A mere gesture suffices. Clara accepted it, gently touching the corners of her eyes. She stated, "I'm not shedding tears for them. I'm in tears because for once, someone didn't require me to elaborate. Simply allow me to exist." Silas reclined a bit in his chair, the wood emitting a soft creak. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said softly. "You have endured an experience that few can truly comprehend." Once more, silence envelops the space. Then Clara shifted her gaze ever so slightly in his direction. "Do you ever worry?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "That if you love again, they might leave? That you might lose them as well?" Silas averted his gaze from her at first. His eyes lingered on the rain-soaked grass. At last, when he found his voice, it emerged as a mere whisper, low and resonant. "Each day brings a weight of concern," as he cast his gaze upon his hands. "Yet, do you grasp what terrifies me even more? That I shall never attempt once more? That I will continue to exist as if I have already departed alongside them?" Clara nodded with deliberation, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. Not from anguish, but from a gentle touch, something unknown. The rain persisted, a gentle and unwavering embrace. Neither declarations nor promises were uttered. Two souls nestled together, sharing a burden that, for the first time in ages, no longer feels like a solitary load to bear. In the late morning, the envelope arrived, nestled between an electricity bill and a coupon flyer. Clara discovered it nestled within the weathered mailbox at the far end of the ranch driveway, her fingers quivering as they brushed against the seal. The custody petition at Shady Valley County Court. She gazed at it intently for an extended period. The wind whispered through the parched blades of grass encircling her, yet she remained motionless. Within the confines of the house, silence reigned supreme. Ellie played near the fireplace, her soft humming filling the air as Silas busied himself with fixing a drawer in the kitchen. Clara perched on the edge of the couch, her fingers ripping the envelope open with a disquieting numbness that frightened her more than what lay within. The words pierced through the page. Request for legal guardianship. Beatrice Whitmore against Clara Bennett. Foundations, jeopardy, carelessness, psychological turmoil, relief sought. Exclusive custody of the minor child, Eleanor Bennett, who is 5 years old. Her vision became hazy. She scarcely noticed as Ellie danced into the room. The girl observed the papers clutched in her mother's hand, and then she saw the color ebbing away from her face. "Mama," she whispered. Clara attempted a smile, but it eluded her grasp. "Oh, darling, it's merely some papers." Ellie cast her gaze upon the page. Though the majority eluded her comprehension, her name stood out distinctly. "Am I departing?" Clara recoiled. "What is this? Are they coming for me?" Ellie's eyes grew wide, her voice trembling with emotion. "Have I committed a misstep?" Clara let the papers slip from her grasp as she enveloped her daughter in a fierce embrace, holding her so tightly that their bodies trembled together. "No," she whispered. "Absolutely not. You have not taken any action. You are flawless. You belong to me." Silas lingered in the doorway, a figure of quiet contemplation. He had caught sight of the return address. The moment Clara stepped inside, the tension in her shoulders was palpable. He approached, lowering himself to crouch beside them. If you cannot keep her close, he murmured gently, then we shall. Clara gazed at him, her eyes ablaze with terror. She is my everything. Silas remained unyielding, and that alone is justification enough. The following days melded into one another. Clara found herself restless, her sleep elusive. Her hands quivered with each stroke through Ellie's hair, as though she dreaded it might be the final moment. She ceased her visits to town. She found herself unable to withstand the weight of the gazes, the hushed murmurs that lingered in the air. Inexplicably, they possessed the knowledge already. At the market a week prior, she had caught a woman whispering, "The Whitmore boy's widow. The unfortunate child faces insurmountable odds." The words trailed behind her, ethereal and elusive, much like wisps of smoke. Ellie had observed it as well. "What has caused them to cease their conversations with you?" she inquired, her eyes wide and bewildered. "What is it about their appearance that evokes such curiosity?" Clara struggled to articulate her thoughts, but the words eluded her grasp. How might she convey the harsh realities of adulthood to a 5-year-old? The trepidation individuals felt towards narratives that eluded their comprehension. As dusk settled and Ellie drifted into slumber, Clara found herself at the kitchen table, her gaze fixed on the court papers, her heart racing with anticipation. Silas set a steaming mug of tea before her, then took a seat across the table, silence enveloping them both. I lose her, Clara whispered. "If they take her, it will be the end of me." Silas inclined his body forward, his voice a soft yet confident murmur. "Then you engage in battle." She raised her gaze to meet his. "Clara, you have faced greater challenges before. You have navigated her through tempests that would overwhelm the average soul, and yet you remain steadfast, with tears shimmering in her gaze. Yet, what if that falls short?" "Then I shall stand with you," he declared. "Your determination to love someone is unlike anything I've ever witnessed." Clara concealed her face with both hands, her body quaking from the weight of all she had kept bottled up. As the night deepened and the world outside fell silent, she found herself seated beside Ellie, gently caressing her hair in a tender embrace of solace. The child whispered softly in her slumber, "Mama, indeed, my love. You won't allow them to take me away, will you?" Clara gently shut her eyes. "Never," she murmured, "not in this lifetime." In that moment, a weight anchored itself in her chest. Neither peace nor hope, but a steadfast resolve. A flame ignited not by fury, but by a love that clung tenaciously to its essence. She had faced abandonment, endured insults, and felt erased. Yet there was one thing she knew for certain. No one, absolutely no one, would take her daughter. Not as long as she drew breath. Not as long as her hands remained capable of grasping. This time, it shall not be so. In that quaint little town, secrets slipped through the air with a swiftness that rivaled the very breeze itself. Initially, Clara became aware of the stillness. Salutations that once flourished with courteous smiles have now devolved into brief nods or total evasion. Then arrived the stares, those prolonged, unyielding gazes that conveyed all the unspoken words people dared not utter to her face. "She's taken up residence at the abode of Silas Whitmore. Isn't it hard to fathom? She must be enchanting him into permitting her to remain. One can only surmise that the girl and her daughter have their sights set on his land. They possess the art of survival." Clara endeavored to dismiss it. Yet then arrived the phrases that pierced more profoundly. "She hails from elsewhere entirely. I overheard the girls, not even Charles's daughter. The entire endeavor is merely for the sake of preparation." In the quaint bakery, she patiently waited in line for a full 20 minutes. As her moment arrived, a woman at the counter regarded her with an unsettling gaze, as if she were transparent, a mere specter in the room. "We have reached our limit," she remarked, despite the 2 loaves of fresh sourdough resting on the display shelf behind her. Clara remained silent, merely nodding before she turned and exited the room. Outside, Ellie grasped her hand tightly, her tiny feet struggling to keep pace. Upon arriving home, Clara set her purse down on the kitchen table and extended her hand toward the skillet. Yet her hands shook with such intensity that she found it impossible to grasp the handle. She leaned in, her palms pressed firmly against the counter, her breath coming in quick, heavy bursts. "Mother, mother." From the living room, Ellie's voice emerged, soft and trembling with fear. "Have I erred in some way?" Clara shook her head, forcing down the lump that had formed in her throat. Absolutely not, my dear, never. She settled onto the floor, her knees drawn tightly to her chest, her hands trembling uncontrollably. As dusk settled, Silas returned from the barn to discover Clara in her unchanged position, a pot of uncooked rice resting on the stove, the kitchen shrouded in darkness. Not a single word escaped his lips. He traversed the room, sank to his knees beside her, and tenderly grasped her hand in his. She gazed at him, her eyes heavy with uncried tears, her lips slightly parted yet devoid of sound. He stood, her hand clasped in his, and guided her through the back door. They strolled across the cool grass, moving beyond the garden's boundary where mint and rosemary flourished in tidy rows, until they arrived at the ancient willow tree that loomed by the fence line. He took a seat first. Clara paused for a moment, then chose to follow. Silence enveloped them for what felt like an eternity. The gentle wind rustled the leaves overhead, creating a dance of shadows that played across their features. At last, Silas uttered a few words, his tone calm and unwavering. "You may choose silence while the world shouts," he remarked, "but with me, you need not hold your tongue." Clara angled her face in his direction, a constriction forming in her throat. "I don't want to destroy your life," she murmured softly. "I notice the glances cast your way, filled with judgment, as if you've erred, as if you've allowed someone like me to step into a realm far beyond my worth." Silas locked his gaze with hers. "If anyone in this town believes me a fool for allowing a woman to stay, one who saved her child with nothing but her bare hands and a heart on the verge of breaking, then perhaps their judgment matters little to me." He hesitated for a moment before continuing. "You didn't choose to be here, but I must say I'm grateful that you are." Clara's eyelids fluttered rapidly. The silence that enveloped them grew denser, yet it was far from void. It brimmed with every unarticulated pain, every concealed mark, every solitary instant that neither had the courage to express. "It's as if I'm parading a banner around my neck," she remarked, "as though everyone sees me and only recalls what I've lost, what I've stumbled over." "I don't see that," he remarked. "What is it that you perceive? A woman who continues to battle despite her exhaustion, despite her desires to surrender." Clara's cheeks glistened with tears. She made no effort to wipe them away, and Silas, too, refrained from reaching out to do so. He lingered beside her, the heat of his presence enveloping her, yet maintaining a distance that kept her from feeling confined. They lingered in that moment for what felt like an eternity, enveloped by the gentle whisper of the willow's embrace. At times, the most profound statement one can make is to remain quietly by another's side. The silence we shared resonated more profoundly than any rumor, any doubt, any sense of isolation. The rhythmic clatter of hooves on the earth resonated through the stillness of the morning. Silas lingered in the stable, gently grooming his mare, embodying a sense of calm and stability. In the barn, he found his sanctuary, a refuge where tranquility reigned supreme. He sensed her approach long before her words reached him. Still using the old brush, came a voice that felt like an echo from the past. He pivoted. In the doorway stood his mother, Eleanor Whitemore, her beige coat fastened with precision, her hair arranged in a tidy pinup. Her voice carried no judgment, only a serene observation. The girl spoke of what she had heard. Silas persisted in his brushing. After a moment of stillness, he placed the brush aside and turned to meet her gaze. She and her daughter sought a refuge, a place where safety enveloped them. Eleanor advanced with deliberate intent. "Are you certain that this is safe for you as well?" He furrowed his brow ever so slightly. "Could you clarify what you mean?" She released a breath. "You have crafted a life here, one that no longer brings pain. Yet she continues to bleed. Are you prepared for that? Prepared to shoulder greater burdens once more?" Silas cast a fleeting look at his calloused hands. Perhaps that is what lends it an air of authenticity. That evening, the dinner unfolded in serene silence. Clara prepared a modest yet comforting meal: roasted vegetables, fresh bread, and a warm bowl of soup. She navigated the kitchen with a delicate precision. Her words were sparse, her gaze cast downwards. Ellie perched beside her, hands folded with precision, striving earnestly to embody the essence of goodness. Eleanor spoke sparingly, yet her gaze absorbed every detail around her. Clara's tender touch as she delicately wiped Ellie's mouth. With hands accustomed to tougher tasks, she sliced through the bread effortlessly. She offered solace to the child, her voice remaining calm and steady, even as the soup cascaded onto her shirt. Once the meal had concluded, Eleanor turned her gaze toward Clara. "Would you care to join me for a moment?" Clara trailed behind her, making her way to the porch. The atmosphere was refreshingly crisp, the fragrance of mint wafted through the air, a subtle reminder of nature's embrace. Eleanor rested against the railing, her gaze fixed on the distant horizon. "I didn't come to oppose," she stated. "I arrived here driven by my role as a mother. I have experienced love, and I understand the profound ways in which grief transforms individuals, not solely in the present, but in every subsequent moment that follows." She pivoted. "My concern lies not in your identity. It's the consequence of Silas daring to open his heart once more, only to find you gone." Clara delicately arranged her hands in her lap. "I seek neither acceptance nor faith from others. I can assure you that I will not cause him any harm. If I believed I would depart." Eleanor observed her intently. "Your words convey a sense of anticipation, as if you are bracing for rejection." Clara offered a faint, melancholic smile. "It has occurred frequently." The silence lingered, an expanse of unspoken words hanging in the air between them. Eleanor's voice took on a gentle quality. "I understand the profound experience of surviving your own child. And the silence that ensues, it resonates as the most profound sound in existence." Clara inclined her head in agreement. "It has been the sole refrain echoing in my ears for an entire year." Eleanor cast her gaze down. Silently, she turned and retreated indoors. As dawn broke, Clara stirred from her slumber, greeted by the inviting aroma of something warm and buttery wafting through the air. In the kitchen, Eleanor set a plate of scones upon the table. "I used to create these for Silas when he was little," she remarked. "They are enhanced by the sweetness of honey." Ellie brought her hands together in a joyful clap. "Their aroma is reminiscent of freshly baked cookies." Clara blinked, momentarily taken aback. "Thank you," she murmured softly. Eleanor raised her gaze. Young minds hold on to the tiniest details. A cozy kitchen, a cheerful smile at the breakfast table, ensure that she retains the memory. Neither embraces nor oratory graced the moment. Yet as Eleanor poured 3 cups of tea, it proved to be sufficient. Something had changed. The distance remained. Yet it felt less harsh. For Clara, this marked the beginning of an unexpected journey she had long since stopped dreaming about. The courtroom exuded a cool sterility, its walls adorned in a muted shade of gray. Clara perched at the front, her hands tightly clasped in her lap, shoulders hunched as if preparing to withstand one final strike. Silas remained by her side, tranquil and poised. In the second row, Eleanor remained seated, her hands resting gracefully in her lap, her expression a mystery to those around her. Yet her mere presence conveyed it all. As the judge delivered the final verdict, Clara held her breath. "The petitioner's plea for custody has been denied. The child's mother, Clara Bennett, retains full legal custody." A profound stillness enveloped the scene, an absence of joy or exclamation, consuming every thought that dared to linger in her mind. Then she turned, slowly, as if hesitant to confront the eyes of those around her. Eleanor extended her hand across the gap that separated the benches, her fingers wrapping softly around Silas's. A delicate movement, yet when Clara locked eyes with her, the older woman offered a faint nod. Clara's lips remained pressed together, yet her eyes, shimmering with unshed tears, conveyed the unspoken emotions that lingered within her. That evening the dinner table appeared as it always did, yet it held an unspoken significance. Ellie animatedly recounted her excitement over her new crayons, and the delightful encounter with a girl at school who graciously lent her a glitter sticker. Claire listened intently, nodding as the gentle clink of cutlery filled the air, enveloped by the warm aroma of roasted vegetables that wrapped around them like a comforting embrace. Silas extended the bread. Eleanor silently heaped another serving of mashed potatoes onto Clara's plate. There was neither toast nor announcement, yet an unmistakable shift lingered in the air. They were no longer just 4 individuals cohabiting the same space. They were entwined in the tapestry of existence. In the days that followed, Clara and Silas toiled together in the garden, uprooting weeds and pruning the vibrant spring foliage. The sun sank gracefully, casting a warm golden hue over the blades of grass, Ellie nestled on a blanket, lost in her coloring, her gentle voice weaving a soft hum to accompany her thoughts. Clara brushed the sweat from her brow with the back of her arm, a streak of dirt marking her cheek. Her gaze fell upon Silas, engrossed in the examination of the mint patch. "Do you ever think," she said softly, "that people only remain when they're unaware of the entire narrative?" He cast a bewildered glance in her direction. She paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "I have always doubted that anyone would remain once they witnessed it all. The fractured remnants, the shards I've painstakingly reassembled merely to find solace in the act of breathing." Silas rested against the rake, his gaze soft and kind. "I perceive everything, Clara," he remarked. "That is the reason for my continued presence." She remained silent, yet her breath caught in her throat, not from sorrow, but from the exhilarating, haunting understanding that he was sincere. He wasn't expecting her to be flawless. He simply opted to remain. As the evening air turned crisp, they gathered their tools and strolled back toward the house. Ellie dashed forward, eager to reveal her drawing to Eleanor, two towering figures and a petite girl clasping hands beneath the shade of a tree. On the porch, Claire and Silas nestled together on the weathered swing, their hands imbued with the fragrance of freshly turned soil. Silence enveloped them. He extended his arm, grasped her hand and intertwined his fingers with hers, without expectation, without commitment, simply being here. Ellie's laughter echoed through the yard, vibrant and joyful, as it danced with the fading light of day, sending it soaring into the heavens. Within the confines of the house, the lights shimmered with a gentle, golden hue. For the first time in ages, the walls resonated, not with silence, but with vitality, with motion, with a sense of family, crafted not from tradition or lineage, but from the simple, steadfast choice to remain present, to endure. A voice, soft and reminiscent, enveloped the moment, akin to a storyteller retreating into the shadows. Their journey did not start with love. They commenced their journey in sorrow, amidst shattered hopes and trepidation. Yet, with each passing day, they remained unhealed by the passage of time. They found solace in one another. If this narrative resonated with a profound part of your being, if you recognized a fragment of yourself in Clara's quietude, in Silas's tranquility, or in little Ellie's pure optimism, then you are not solitary in this experience. In a hidden corner of the world, an individual endures a struggle that remains unseen by all. At times, it is merely a single hand extended, a deliberate choice to hold on and not release. Soul-stirring stories. We hold dear the subtle strength of compassion, the unwavering spirit of resilience, and the profound love that whispers rather than roars, yet remains steadfast. If this journey resonated with you, we warmly invite you to subscribe to our channel, where we share authentic stories that heal, inspire, and illuminate the goodness that resides in everyday hearts. For there are moments when the narratives we cherish most linger in our minds, echoing long after the final scene dissolves into darkness. Join us at Soul Stirring Stories and allow the next tale to resonate within your spirit.